Molweni Bahlali, as I conclude my talks around Biko, the wife of Stevebiko, I thought it was worthwhile for me to talk about the love triangle that she was in with Stevebiko and Dr. Mamphela Ramphele. So according to Biko, she met Stevebiko in 1966 when she went to King Edward Hospital in Durban to study nursing, and Stevebiko was there studying medicine. And according to Dr. Mamphela Ramphele, she also met Stevebiko in 1966 at the same hospital because she was there also studying medicine. And according to the book that was written by Dr. Ramphela's son, they were actually intellectual partners. And they were both involved in the student associations. And so they used to meet at student functions and speak about the Black consciousness movement and the anti-apartheid struggle. At this time, it is also commonly known that Stevebiko was actually a womanizer. He actually used to have multiple ladies at a time, and also during the student conferences for the student movements, they used to actually make bets with their friends around who was going to sleep with the most ladies at the conferences. Because Dr. Mamphela Ramphele was in close proximity to this, because she was also part of the movements and they were also studying the same course, she was privy to Stevebiko's ways. So she decided to actually leave Stevebiko and marry her childhood sweetheart in 1969. And their relationship only lasted a year. On the other end, in 1970, Stevebiko decided to marry Biko. In 1971, Nontsikelelo and Steve had their first child. At this time, Stevebiko was actually heavily involved in the anti-apartheid movement. He actually abandoned his studies. Dr. Ramphele actually did not abandon hers, and in 1972 finished her studies and moved to the Eastern Cape in Port Elizabeth to work at the Livingstone Hospital. Stevebiko was on the radar for the apartheid police, and in 1973 he was actually banned to the Eastern Cape, and him and his wife Unontsikelelo went to go live in Johannesburg outside of King Williamstown. Dr. Mamphela Ramphele is in PE, and Stevebiko is banned to King Williamstown. So I don't know if they were meeting under the radar, but obviously they were meeting because in 1974, Stevebiko and Dr. Ramphele actually have their first child, Ulurado. And unfortunately, Ulurado doesn't survive and passes away in infancy. In 1975, after Lerado's passing, Dr. Ramphele moves to Linyoka outside of King Williamstown to open Zanempilo Health Center. And she works in this health center with Stevebiko. In 1975, Nontsikelelo gives birth to her and Stevebiko's second child, Usamora. So they continue with their relationships with Stevebiko separately, Nontsikelelo on her side as the wife, and Dr. Mamphela Ramphele as the side. So in 1977, Stevebiko gets arrested, and this is where he subsequently dies. And we don't see Dr. Ramphele at the funeral of Stevebiko. Nontsikelelo is there representing as the wife. And this is the time that Dr. Ramphele is actually pregnant with her and Stevebiko's second child, Uhlumelo, who she gives birth to after Stevebiko's death in 1978. And again, she was not at the funeral and hasn't been actively involved as a family member in Stevebiko's affair. She is, however, involved and adjacent to the Stevebiko life, as well as the Black consciousness movement. And also, Biko has carved her own niche as the wife of Stevebiko and also as a community activist. So both women won in the end. Thank you.